types and the vegan and the vegetarian. No, they're not the ones that are the vegetarians. They have been vegetarians, sure, and they're fine because they, kind of get like, grandfathered in. But the people that are vegetarian now are like the yuppies that we used to call yuppies, or like they grew up in houses of the hippies and the crunchy people, and they've never tasted meat in their lives, and that's normal.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot more normal, and it'll become normalized. It'll be one of those things where it's just like, oh yeah, think about how hateful and stereotypical and like bigoted our parents' generation is in general, right?
Yeah.
Or how much we feel like they're bigoted. We're going to be the same way to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the shit that we say, and, like, we're like, oh, yeah, it's just normal. Like, whatever it is. Like, think about all the jokes that, we heard growing up about, like, the F word and calling somebody gay. And, like, that's, no, you're not doing that now.
No.
Mm-mm.
Right? Like, there's still kids that are going to do it because they're like, oh, I'm, being edgy and all that other stuff. Great.
It's like, well, no, you're not being edgy. You're being an asshole.
Yeah, have fun. Like, way to go. Ooh, you like dark humor. Oh, you're in it for the memes. I get it. Like, that's fine, but, you're not going to have any friends. Like, if you're writing off, eventually you're going to start believing that shit, and then you're storming the fucking Capitol. Like, take it easy. Like, let everybody do their own fucking thing. As long as they're not fucking hurting anybody, I'm fine. Like, you can believe whatever the fuck you want to believe.
Yeah.
Like, and do whatever the fuck you want to do, but it's like, it stops as soon as, like, you harsh somebody else's fucking mellow. Like,
yeah.
Like, and, like, the vegan thing is, like, that's the next step, is that, like, these kids grew up and they're not going to stand by and let racism happen in front of them, or sexism. Like, think about how many times, Andrew, you saw something bad happen to a girl, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't say anything. Like, I've done it. I've definitely done it. Where I've been like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, that. But, we used to hear the phrase, boys will be boys, right?
Yeah.
That's fucking toxic shit.
Yeah.
Like, that is some super toxic shit that we were all just kind of, like, force-fed. Like, oh, they're just rascals.
Yeah, they're just gonna let them get in trouble. They're boys. Boys will be boys. Yeah.
Boys will be boys. They'll throw rocks through fucking windows. They'll drown squirrels. Their boys will be boys.
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking serious? Like, I mean,
I wonder. So I don't know if I'd describe it necessarily as force feeding so much as I would say like it goes back to like that's what you know back then, and parents maybe just didn't know necessarily the ramifications of supporting that kind of behavior, or at least not correcting certain behavior.
Right.
It's like you can look back at someone in year like 2 for not knowing what fire was, but of course you know what fire is. It's very easy for you now. Is all I'm getting at,
Yeah, no, I'm
be like,
totally
oh,
with
those
you.
stupid fuckers,
No, I'm with you. I'm not blaming them. It's context if you think about it this way. Like, you think about it, like the other day that I was talking about this with something, and I'm going to circle back to that idea, but to go back and tie it back to what we were talking about, think about Waller for a second, and they bring him back in 2021, all right? And he's doing his 2008 stick, or even 1998 stick, all right?
Yeah.
That doesn't work now, right? The thing is that Vince should know better, but but the nostalgia there for him is more important than the other stuff, or rewriting history to make people think that call back to the golden age of the Attitude Era, when we all know that the Attitude Era was full of shit. Like there was, for every great storyline they had, there was 20 of them that were terrible.
Or just not really good matches. I mean, the matches were better in even like '95 when wrestling was arguably at its worst.
Exactly. It was all about matches back then. And like now it's with Vince and how he's had to incorporate TV, it's much more of a TV show than it's a wrestling show anymore. Which is fine. That's what, his audience pays for. That's okay. If we decide to keep giving him money, great. But, Cody comes out with AEW and all of a sudden we start giving money that way, it forces Vince to change. Okay? And all of a sudden he's got to move NXT to fight off AEW. Because it's the closest thing in programming that he has to it, right? To try to siphon anything around there. The fact that he still had to move NXT to do that shows that he's worried, okay? And that Cody's forcing him to innovate. The fact that we don't have that innovation happening anymore on the scale that we did because, media was so contained to, TV, radio, and movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what else do we have? Newspapers.
Yeah, print.
Okay, print. Magazine, sure, print. Okay, so those are that's all you had. You had 4. Think about what we have now, right?
Yeah.
Think about just the internet itself, and that's why I say it's completely different. You can't hold up this and the greatest of all times lists. It just things are different every day. Everything's different. Jerry Lawler's the goat of being inappropriate and sexist on TV back when that was okay because he fit that role. But there's no reason to think that today's Jerry Lawler, is going to be as talented as Jerry Lawler was, on the mic. Samoa Joe comes to mind. All right? He's a completely different dude, but now that he's moved to the mic, he's better. He's got that other thing. Jerry Lawler was one of the best wrestlers of all time. We forget that part. That's one of the things that we forget because he became this Lawler he became JR.
He sort of became like a walking caricature.
Right, exactly. Flanders. You went Flanderization on him, which is fine. But if you don't change with the times and don't, if you come back and bring that stuff back up and go, ha, 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 no, it doesn't work. Kids nowadays want you to innovate and they want you to do something different and they want to do something new and they're not going to go get stuck on shit that we got stuck on. They get their own stuff and if they want, but the cool thing is that if they want to get stuck to our shit, if they want to be into Metallica, if they want to be into 90s or 80s wrestling, they should be welcomed in. The one thing that we fucking hated when we were that age was that nobody took us fucking seriously, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge problem. Think about how we only wanted to be treated like adults. I can't wait till I'm grown up. Everybody thinks that, right? Yeah. And then we all had that fucking thought. We all forget that the kids coming up are having the same exact thought right now, and except that we're starting to listen to them and give them their due. I think when people write off other people, it used to be because and they would just pass them off for whatever reason. It was either because they were young, they were a different race, different sex, different creed, whatever. Okay, they differed in some way. Now that's seen as a strength, and everybody, it's okay, everybody has different experiences, but none are better than the others, and we're not just attaching social structures to them needlessly and going, oh yeah, well, this guy's a preacher's son, so he's obviously a good dude. When we know very much that they're not. They're all stereotypical stuff that you'd see in wrestling with gimmicks, right? Think about gimmicks that worked in the past that wouldn't work now, and think about how wrestling just kind of makes fun of those people and stereotype. That's not going to be it. Now you see wrestling characters, and they're what? They're not all one-note characters. Think about how we had the Blue Meanie or Al Cole. What was his name? Al Snow. No, Al Cole. Al Snow. Al Cole was the guy that used to be our night jock at. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, we'll save that for the next one.
Yeah, but I could do a whole series on that dude. Yeah. No, I mean he is just fantastic. Google him, by the way. Andrew, Google him after this. You'll have so many questions.
Oh no, I remember Kenny Young showing me oh no, this was Al Cole, and he would play me some of the stuff he was doing. It's just what the fuck,
dude? Al's got a website. Al's got a website.
Oh god.
it's okay. Just Google Al Cole, okay? Just go ahead. I'm gonna leave that little nugget for everybody. Because I can't be there to shepherd you on that journey. You need to experience that journey for yourself.
I just figure if it was gonna be an actual a room, for example, it would be a velvet draped just. It would almost be like the basement of Buffalo Bill's place, but just with more velvet.
It's scarier. Somehow scarier.
Nickelback's playing in the background?
There'd be a pit, but there wouldn't be a bottom. It would just... It would be like that. I don't... You have to save that one. It's just too... It's too rich. It's terrifying, really, if you go down that rabbit hole. But...
hang on, my therapist is on the line right now.
Oh my gosh. The fact that guy even existed. Okay, anyway, he still continues to exist. It's one of those things where, I don't think that The fact that Al Cole was on a classic rock radio station up until I think it was 2007 or 2008, maybe. Wow, that's all you really need to know, because you go back and like it was okay. I'm sorry that we keep like dancing around it, Bruce, but this guy had kind of a. I'm trying to go with what kind of vibe I would call it. It's
like
definitely
Austin
kind of
Powers
sexually
kind of
assaulty. Sexually assaulty.
Yeah, he's a bit rapey.
It's creep zone. It was so
just got
creepy.
That kind of aura.
It was basically, imagine David Chappelle's Prince impression, only overly sexualized, like
an Austin Powers kind of thing.
Like a Pepe Le Pew.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Like, it was.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Oh, it was so gross, dude. It was
so
gross. It was overdone. And he was on terrestrial radio to 2008, and they let that shit go. And like that's the problem is that they don't innovate because they don't have to, because they're still in power and all that other stuff. But they're just let that shit go. And Al was let on and it kept going, and he was terrible because they couldn't find anything better. And they're holding themselves to their own rules at that time, which actually limited them insanely, because they were spending this ungodly amount of money on this guy to do a part that now is just it's just auto. Like there's nobody in the building. Like, and they didn't need to have anybody in the building, but they felt like they needed to have somebody there. They could have automated it, but there was kind of this thing about not being automated, and that's what radio is all about. It's about keeping things, live, and the things that used to make them great. But the thing is that you can be live on Twitch and Instagram and everything else nowadays. TikTok, fuck it. Like, you can go and reach way, way, way more people that way than doing terrestrial radio. But we still have that stigma in it because radio used to be so big to us kids. Like, think about, the radio programs you used to love when you were a kid. Oh, yeah. Like, TV shows you used to love with a kid. Yeah, there was only a few out there because everybody knew what they were because there was only that few. That's why we talk about, like, Transformers and shit like that as, like, the anime that we had when we were growing up. That's the only shit out there that we could actually get access to, Like, now with the internet, the kids can get to all the other shit, which is great. It can be terrible at the same time, but, kids, I think, have a much better media diet and it takes much less to shock them, that's for sure. Like, some of the shit that they'd say, like, when I was teaching high school, I'd be like, holy, I mean, not only is that one of the darkest things I've ever fucking heard, but, like, I mean, it'll put hair on your ass. Like, you're just like, the way that they thought about things. And you're just like, they sit there and they, like, obviously, certain things aren't a joke. And they're like, yeah, we know certain things aren't a joke. And this was right after this, like, being edgy was like, being cool. Now being edgy is like, no, like, you gotta be, like, it's just not considered like human behavior, which is where we need to get with things. Like, think about cancel culture and all that idea of people like complaining about, who's the ones who are complaining about cancel culture exactly?
Republicans.
Well, yes, okay, but
like the people that are getting caught, like the people that are paying for the repercussions, like
right. It's called fucking consequences.
Yeah.
Right. Like, here's the thing: is like I'm gonna get caught in 20 years having said something on this fucking show, right? That is going to be way, way, way over the line. I don't know what that thing is yet. All right, but here's what I can do is I can say, look, I don't mean that now. Like, I can say, I don't mean how it means then, what it means now. Doesn't excuse it. I haven't said, I don't think I've said anything that's too hateful or ignorant, but I can't write it off. Okay? I can't sit here and go, yeah, I'm 100% perfect. I can cast stones. No, I can't. Okay? Because I'm going to eventually say something like that's going to be screwed up if I'm not thinking of other people first. You have to be empathetic. You got to think about, we weren't like that. We were always just like, well, this is funny, so we have to be this way to be funny. And, you had to be shocking, like, stern and all this other shit. And it's like, no, you don't. Like, that's not necessarily funny. That's just, contrarian or being a dick. Like, think about, like, Jackass was really funny at one point. Okay, Opie and Anthony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect example. Remember when Opie and Anthony were fucking huge?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Do you know what came out of Opie and Anthony?
No.